In 1957, a black couple named Albert and Sally Bolton walked into a real estate agent's office looking to buy a home in Chicago. What they walked out with was the beginning of the most systematic theft of black wealth America has ever seen. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. A white real estate agent named Jay Gorin sold them a property. He never told them he'd bought it a week earlier for $4,300. He sold it to them for $13,900. But here's the trap. According to Beryl Satter's groundbreaking research in family properties, race, real estate, and the exploitation of black urban America, published by the Organization of American Historians, they didn't actually buy the house. They rented it, but they called it something else. They called it buying on contract. The Boltons made monthly payments. They paid taxes. They paid for insurance. They paid for repairs. But they never received the deed. They would only get the deed once they paid off the entire contract. And Gorin made certain that would never happen. After just 18 months, the Boltons missed a payment. Gorin evicted them immediately. He kept every penny they'd invested. The property went back on the market. This wasn't an isolated scheme. This was systemic. According to FHA documentation and historical records, approximately 85% of black home purchases in Chicago between the 1930s and 1960s were sold on contract. Not mortgages, contracts. Why? Because the Federal Housing Administration refused to insure mortgages for black Americans. Redlining, they called it. The practice was simple, brilliant, and absolutely ruthless. Speculators bought properties from white families fleeing racially changing neighborhoods at near market value. Then they turned around and sold those same properties to desperate black families at double, triple, sometimes quadruple the price. All on contract, all with the threat of instant eviction hanging over their heads. According to Mark Satter, the attorney who first documented this practice, Chicago's rigid racial segregation was costing black citizens $1 million per day in inflated prices and rents. $1 million every single day. Black families couldn't escape. According to urban records, between 1940 and 1960, Chicago's black population nearly tripled. Where could they go? White neighborhoods wouldn't rent to them. Housing covenants locked them out. The few black families who did try to move north faced white mobs breaking windows and shouting death threats. So when a contract seller offered them a way out of the overcrowded South Side ghetto, they took it. Even at triple the price, the monthly payment was sometimes less than the rent they were already paying. It made sense, until it didn't. The buildings these buyers purchased were riddled with code violations. The terms were impossible. But the worst part wasn't even the money. It was the psychological trap. According to the Contract Buyers League documentation, every time a black family struggled to keep up payments, they had to work double shifts. They had to subdivide their apartments and charge tenants high rents. They had to neglect basic maintenance. The system was genius because it forced black contract buyers to become their own exploiters. They transformed from victims into slumlords, not by choice, but by necessity. This didn't happen by accident. According to declassified government documents and FHA records, the federal government and private banks deliberately constructed a two-tiered housing market. Whites got mortgages backed by government insurance and suburban development that built generational wealth. Blacks got predatory contracts designed to bleed them dry and trap them in declining neighborhoods. But Chicago's black community didn't accept this. In 1968, a black woman named Ruth Wells stood up in a church meeting and told her story. According to the Contract Buyers League archives, she became known as the Rosa Parks of Lawndale. She broke the silence. By December of that year, according to League records, nearly 600 families had stopped paying their contract sellers. Instead, they made money orders out to themselves and put them in escrow accounts. They called it the Big Holdout. When the contract sellers sent police to evict them, the neighborhoods flooded. Hundreds of community members, black, white, religious leaders, community organizers, stood in front of those homes and said no. The Contract Buyers League documented every case. They organized payment strikes. They renegotiated contracts. According to historical records, more than 450 families were able to escape the contract trap and secure legitimate mortgages because of this movement. But approximately 70 families lost their homes permanently. Here's what the mainstream refuses to acknowledge. The decline of Chicago's black neighborhoods into slums wasn't caused by black people. It was engineered. It was deliberately constructed by federal policy, banking redlining, and private speculation. And the evidence is everywhere. In the court documents, the FHA files, in the stories of families who were systematically stripped of wealth that should have been passed down to their children and grandchildren. Comment below. Did you know about contract selling before now? Share this with someone who doesn't understand that the wealth gap isn't about effort or culture. It's about deliberate systemic theft. Subscribe to Ikmefuna History TV, because these are the buried stories that explain everything about America's racial divide today. The stories that prove wealth inequality is not accidental, it's by design, and until we acknowledge it, we'll never fix it.